Have you ever been in a room, maybe a classroom or a meeting, sitting in a circle? You watch the person speaking, then the next person, and you realize the turn is coming to you like a slow, inevitable train. Your heart starts pounding, your palms get sweaty, and suddenly, despite knowing your own life better than anyone else, your mind goes completely blank.
The classic fight, flight, or freeze response. It's fascinating, isn't it? We are the world's leading experts on the subject of ourselves. Yet when someone says, "Tell me about yourself," it feels like the most difficult exam question in history.
Exactly. It's a universal paradox. Today, we are diving deep into the mechanics of that moment. We aren't just talking about grammar or vocabulary lists, we're deconstructing the psychology behind the self-introduction. We're looking at the source material from the English Leap podcast to understand how to turn that moment of panic into a moment of power.
And it really is about power, specifically narrative power. The core issue the source material highlights is this idea of the brain freeze. When you are asked to introduce yourself, your brain is suddenly flooded with too much data. You have memories of your childhood, your current job, your coffee preference, your family, your dreams. It's all swirling in a chaotic cloud.
That metaphor of the cloud is so accurate. It's noise, and the source text suggests that the antidote to this noise is treating your introduction like a movie script. I love that analogy. It implies that you are the director of your own character.
Precisely. A script implies curation. You don't put every single scene of a movie into the trailer. You pick the highlights that set the tone. Whether you are a beginner or an advanced speaker, the mistake is usually trying to download your entire database of life experience onto the listener. The movie script approach says, pick a genre, pick a scene, and keep it linear.
So let's break down this script. It starts before you even say your name. It starts with reading the room. The source material distinguishes between informal, semi-formal, and formal contexts. It seems obvious, but how often do we get this wrong?
More often than we'd like to admit. It's about code switching. If you are sitting on a sofa with a friend, as the text suggests, you aren't going to say, "Good afternoon, it is a pleasure to meet you." That creates distance. Conversely, walking into a job interview and saying, "Yo, what's up?" unless you are interviewing for a very specific type of startup, is probably going to close doors.
It's that subtle calibration. You have to listen to the atmosphere first. The text mentions that morning is a great semi-formal bridge. It's not the stiff good morning, but it's not the overly casual, "Hey, it's safe."
Safety is a big part of this. When you are nervous, you want linguistic safety. Once you've established the greeting, you move to the anchor, the name and origin. Now this seems simple. I'm Jake, I'm from the UK, but there is a nuance here regarding the life map.
The life map. I found that concept interesting. It's not just, "I am from X," it's the trajectory. I was born in a small town, but now I live in Madrid. It tells a micro story of movement.
It does. It adds a dynamic element to your character. It shows you aren't static. And for anyone listening who is learning a second language, this structure, past origin plus current location, is a goldmine for grammar practice without feeling like a drill. It grounds the listener geographically. They literally build a map in their heads.
But then we hit the hurdle. The question that defines modern social interaction: what do you do?
The labor question. In many cultures, this is how we assign value to a person. I work as a nurse, I work in sales. The source text offers a lot of variations here, from I work for company to I work in department, but I think the real insight here is for the students or those in transition.
You mean the identity crisis of not having a job title?
Exactly. If you are a student, you don't say, "I do nothing." You say, "I study computer science." You claim that activity as your current professional identity. The text makes a point that you can simply state your field if you don't want to name a specific company. I work in education. It's broad, it's professional, and it invites the other person to ask, "Oh, what part of education?"
It's about dropping hooks, right? You want to leave little breadcrumbs for the other person to pick up. If you just give a robotic list, the conversation dies. But if you say, "I work in sales," it's a bit dry. However, later in the script, we get to hobbies. That's where the color comes in.
The humanizing phase. This is my favorite part of the analysis. We moved from the robot name, rank, serial number to the human. The text uses examples like, I like reading, or I'm a big fan of Korean dramas.
Or the specific example, I love cats and pasta, but I don't like waking up early. That is so vivid.
It's specific, and specificity breeds connection. If you say, I like food, as the character Jake did in his panic moment, nobody can argue with it, but nobody can connect with it either. Everyone likes food. But if you say, I love spicy pizza, but I hate waiting in lines, suddenly, I have an opinion. I can agree or disagree. We have a relationship.
That's a profound point. We are so afraid of making mistakes in a foreign language that we often strip away our personality to be safe. But the goal of the introduction isn't just accuracy, it's resonance.
Resonance is the perfect word. You want to vibrate on the same frequency as the listener. Even the section on family can be resonant without being oversharing. The text advises against telling every family secret. I live with my parents, or I live with my partner and our son. It paints a picture of your domestic life. It tells the listener who is waiting for you at home. It grounds you as a real person, not just a voice in a room.
And that leads into the routine. What does a normal day look like? This is where the structure of the script really shines. You don't need a diary entry. You need a rhythm. I wake up, I have coffee, I work, I study English.
It's the rhythm of life. And notice how the source text encourages adding the English learning part into that routine. After work, I study English for 20 minutes. That is a meta commentary. If you are introducing yourself in an English class or a language exchange, stating that you study is a badge of honor, it shows dedication.
It also signals vulnerability. It says, I am a learner, I am trying to improve, which actually takes the pressure off. If you admit you are learning, people are more forgiving of mistakes.
Absolutely. Vulnerability is a strength in communication. This segues perfectly into the personality section. The text suggests using adjectives, I am shy at first, but talkative later. This is a brilliant strategy called managing expectations.
Managing expectations? How so?
If you tell me I am a bit shy at first, and then you sit quietly for the first 10 minutes of our meeting, I don't think you are rude or bored. I think, oh, he told me he's shy. He's just warming up. You have given me the instruction manual on how to interact with you.
That is fascinating. So the self-introduction is actually a user manual for yourself. Here is my name. Here is my operating system. My job. Here are my background processes. My family. And here is a troubleshooting tip. I am shy, so give me time.
That is a beautiful way to put it. And finally, the manual includes the future update, the goals. In the future, I want to travel, or I want to start a business. This adds a vector to your character. We know where you are, Madrid divided by London, but where are you going?
It creates momentum. A person with a goal is always more interesting than a person who is static, even if the goal is simple, like, I want to speak English confidently. It gives the audience a reason to root for you.
And that brings us back to the why. Why do we do this? Why do we need this script? The text mentions the English brain gym. Writing this down, practicing it in the shower or while washing dishes, it's active recall.
I loved that image. Sending your brain to the gym. Because when the pressure is on, when that train is coming around the circle, you revert to your level of training, not your level of rising to the occasion. If you haven't practiced the script, you freeze.
Exactly, the cloud returns, but if you have practiced, if you have that mini movie script in your pocket, you can just press play. You can look the person in the eye, smile and say, Hi, I'm Anna. I'm from Poland, I live in Berlin, and I love old movies. It's simple, but it's armor.
It's armor that allows you to be authentic. You know, looking at the full examples provided in the text where Anna and Jake give their full bios, it strikes me how natural they sound when all the pieces are stitched together. It doesn't sound like a list anymore.
It sounds like a narrative. I work as a teacher, I live with a friend, I like the gym, and I want to travel. It flows because there is logical progression. Identity is greater than location, is greater than occupation, is greater than passion, is greater than ambition. It covers the past, present, and future.
It's almost philosophical when you look at it that way. We are constantly reconstructing ourselves through language. Every time we introduce ourselves to a stranger, we are deciding which version of ourselves exists in that moment.
That's the deep truth of it. In a job interview, you are the hard-working professional. At a party, you are the fun traveler. The facts don't change, but the script does. And having the fluency to switch scripts? That is true language mastery.
So, for our listeners, the takeaway isn't just to memorize a paragraph, it's to build these modular blocks. Have a greeting block, have a joke block, have a hobby block, and then mix and match them depending on the room.
Correct. Don't try to memorize a novel. Memorize Lego bricks, then build the house that fits the situation. If you are at a formal event, use the formal greeting brick and the professional goal brick. If you are at a bar, use the hey brick and the I love pizza brick.
And the most important part? Just do it. The text encourages writing it down in the comments, saying it out loud.
Action cures fear. The first time you say it, it will feel awkward. The 10th time, it will feel like acting. The 100th time, it will just be you.
It reminds me of that feeling when you finally nail it. You walk away from a conversation thinking, I sounded like myself. Not a translated version of myself, but actually me.
And that is the ultimate goal of learning any language. Not just to communicate information, but to transmit your soul, your personality, across the barrier of culture. The self-introduction is the first step on that bridge.
So, as we wrap up this analysis, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. We often dread the question, tell me about yourself, because we think it's a test. But what if it's actually an invitation?
An invitation to take control of the narrative, to decide, right then and there, who you are to this new person. It's a blank page. Don't fear the blank page. Write your headline.
Write your headline. I like that. Whether you are an English teacher from the UK who loves gaming, or a student from Brazil who loves coffee, you are the author.
And the script is always a work in progress. As you change, your English will change and your introduction will evolve. That's the beauty of it.
Thank you for dissecting this with me. It's made me rethink how I introduce myself, even in my native language.
It was a pleasure. It's always good to check our own scripts now and then.
To everyone listening, take a moment today. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, who am I in English? And see what comes out. You might surprise yourself.
And don't forget to enjoy the process. It's your story, after all. Make it a good one.